This is the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum show, Thursday night edition, and where we do some interviews, adding some new content, and bringing some interesting people into the conversation. Tonight we have Denzel Giraldo, and I met him through our Philadelphia tech entrepreneurs group. I saw his video on it, and I saw it. I said, my audience would love to hear from you and all your diverse things. I know, I mean, you are dynamic, results driven, and you got a great story. So we're going to hear your story during this interview. And you're a CEO of a software development company, and you have a placement company. So I thought both of those activities would be really interesting, and as well as your journey. To be honest with you, can you tell a little bit about yourself? Share about these endeavors. Something that's not on LinkedIn.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So my name is Denzel Giraldo. Pleasure to meet you all. Thank you very much, Greg, for having me in the podcast. I truly appreciate the opportunity. And so I come from the Dominican Republic. My journey as a software developer and founder of two software companies began at 11 years old. I was playing this game that I'm not going to disclose the name about. And it is a very interesting and wonderful game that I truly enjoyed a lot. And while I was playing this game, I found myself with a lot of blockers because I had to pay in order for me to get benefits inside of the game. And coming from the Dominican Republic and from humble beginnings, it was like there was not a lot of resources. So I asked myself, how can I get benefits in this game without having to pay? And I went on this rabbit hole of doing a bunch of research on Google. And after a while, I just found the solution, which it was coding. And when I discovered it, it was like it just clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great skill that I can learn for me to be able to create stuff. And just seeing how I wrote a couple of lines of code and making the computer do stuff that I told it to do, it was such a magical experience for me. So uh, after I started learning how to code and got some experience on it at 12, 13 years old, I started doing freelance for other companies and as well as for people that were in college doing their homework for them. And that's how I first got into the software world. And
Okay.
it was wonderful.
That's great. And during the interview, you mentioned that you had two businesses going. One was a software development company, which I guess you led into that. And the other one was a placement company. Can you share something you like to do with each one of those companies? What do you like about each one?
Yes, yes. So we have Preseni, which is a software as a service company, B2B SaaS that specializes on allowing barbershop owners to manage their barbershop without having to put a lot of hours into it. They had this problem before that they were writing down every single client that came into the shop and the price one by one, and at the end of the day, they had to count it each one of them. And I just saw that problem. I identified, okay, I can build a solution for this. So I went on a journey to build a solution for that. And it's a very great software. I truly would use it myself if I would have to own a barbershop. And there is a lot of people actually using the software right now, and it's getting great traction. We also have Inwall, which is a software development company and placement company, as you mentioned. And over there, we're doing great stuff with different companies. We have collaborated with companies like Axel Informatics, Stricer, NIH, and we also do recruiting inside of that company. And we look for talent to place it in different companies that fit best for that specific person.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Now, speaking of that, any advice you have regarding IT placement, finding a next job, if someone's looking for a job, any advice that you have for those people that are looking for that next career job?
Yes, absolutely. If you are looking for a software development position or any kind of position in the IT world, our requirement is to have LinkedIn. It might sound so silly and so stupid, but a lot of people nowadays they're not truly aware how important is LinkedIn in your career, because that's like your public resume. That's what people are going to look first before they even get to know you. And even if you submit a resume to a company, they always check your LinkedIn. So that would be a first most have that I would recommend, and create a lot of connections through LinkedIn. Connect with people in the software world, with with people that work in different software companies, and ask them about their experience, so that way you can gather knowledge and how the process was with them. And aside from having LinkedIn in your resume, something really important, it's the experience.
Have some experience, right?
Yeah. Companies mostly, they don't look for certifications, or where do you go to school. Nowadays they truly don't care too much about that, because when it comes to software in the IT world, it's more about skills
Mhm.
than what do you have to show.
Right.
And if you have, let's say, experience, it's that will bring you farther in your career than a person that maybe went to Harvard. The
Yeah.
Harvard position, it doesn't matter at this point, because they're just focusing on the actual skill set that you can provide. And if you do
Yeah.
not have experience, and if even if you have or not have
Yeah.
experience, if you're looking for a job, let's say for example as a software developer, one thing that it's a must have if you want to outstand out of all of the engineers that are posting their resumes in the application, is to have a portfolio and things to show in your GitHub, for example.
Yeah.
And if you're a designer or something, just put some of your designs in your resume as well, so that way people can see what quality of work you're able to provide. For example, when a company is checking for resumes, right?
Yeah.
Especially software developers. Software developers, the first things that they're going to go to do is go to your LinkedIn, check your that your profile matches with your resume experience, and then they're going to go into your GitHub to see if you got something public over there. And one thing that developers trust is seeing other developers posting stuff in GitHub. And for those who don't know, GitHub is a platform where you can publish code open source, and so that other developers can see it. And when other developers see it for the company that you're looking to apply for, they're gonna be like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They have this many repositories, and they have done a great job, whether it's on the coding style that you decide to apply it into that into that project, or anything in general. But having something to show, having a portfolio, it's really important. And having LinkedIn, that's something that I would recommend to anybody.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say, like, I got like 14,000 connections myself. Connect with me, and maybe your second one would be the next job person you get, and then they'll find you. That's one of the things about connecting with recruiters like yourself, too, because they're connected with the people running the companies and everything like that. And I love your comment about GitHub. I always imagine me setting up an AWS server for my website and just changing it on the fly and go, okay, I think you passed that part of the interview. Um, and when you say to GitHub, one thing, I mean, I would recommend just don't post your corporate that you're if you're working for a company, don't
Yes.
don't post your company stuff in open source GitHub, because every once in a while they'll probably check it and look for and if they find it, you're done. So I do want to make that
Yes.
recommendation. It's your code, what you wrote for what you want to do, and not for what you wrote for a company. Just make sure that
Absolutely, definitely.
clarification.
And you don't want to get sued.
Yeah, you don't want to get sued, you don't want to get fired, you don't want to get terminated for stealing, right?
Most of the
Um,
times when you're getting onboarded into a software company, the first thing that you do is sign a non-disclosure agreement. So if you
yeah,
post code, I can tell you that for of that company, I can tell you that it's not a great thing to do. Try to avoid that as much as possible. Never do it, and just post code that you're doing on a daily basis, maybe while you're out of work and you just
yeah,
have this couple extra hours that you're free. Just dedicate that time to create a project of yourself that you can say, okay, this project maybe doesn't have something useful in the real world, but it's something that I created just to for me to practice my skill set.
yeah. And
And
if you play a game like you used to when you were a kid, post some code to modify the game. You know, all these games have skins now and all that. You could write code for that, and there's lots of things that are available. So no, I think that's a great, have yourself a portfolio, like you said. I think that's a great
Absolutely.
recommendation.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something really important, and it's on LinkedIn. You have 14,000 connections.
Yeah.
The most amount of connections that you have, the more opportunities you're going to have. Because one thing that recruiters do a lot is that they look for software talent inside of LinkedIn. And if you have a bunch of connections, you're going to find yourself getting 1, 2, 3 messages a week, just from a recruiter that is trying to offer you a position, and it's trying to get you into the interview process as well.
Yeah, and I'll even say, when I used to interview people for some of the companies I was a contractor for, and still, hey, Greg, could you interview Scrum Master or this Agile coach and all that? I looked on LinkedIn too to see what they posted. So I now didn't have a resume. I would make sure it kind of matched up, or there was some stuff, or did they do anything in LinkedIn? Are they out there? Especially as a Scrum Master and an Agile coach, I'm always looking for people that are share their knowledge with other people. You know,
Absolutely.
that's what we do.
Yeah. And people don't know how important the role of the Scrum Master it plays into the software world, because the Scrum Master is that person that is over there to hold you accountable, that you're actually doing the work, to make sure that everything gets done correctly, and to cast the vision of where the project is supposed to be headed at. And I I I am truly aware that people need to understand more how important the role of a Scrum Master comes into the play as well.
It could be your partner too, and someone that helps you along as you go through your process too, especially in a career too.
Absolutely.
Now, on that, when you're assessing talent on an application, do you look at certification? I mean, you mentioned experiences, volunteering, or anything like that on the resume that go along with the coding per se, or anything like that.
Yes. This is going to be very harsh for a lot of people.
Okay. Well, hey, we're realistic here on
that invested a lot of time into taking tests of certifications, taking courses, and all of this. Taking courses is great to develop skills and to take practice on those skills. But as far as applying to jobs, companies truly don't consider the certification as much, because a lot of people can just simply fake certifications, but skill set is the only one thing that you can never fake. So the two number one thing that companies look for is experience and portfolio. That's why those are the top two things that I always recommend to people.
And that's a good point, because I always recommend, okay, you got your cert, now do something with it. You know what I mean? You went and took the class. I've taken all those classes. I got enough certs in my thing, but I know what was in the class, and then show on LinkedIn and a post or something that you applied it and how you did it, or use that part of your interview. Take what you did. I did this at this interview, or I did this at the previous company. Here's I applied what I learned in whatever class you took. Like if you learned how to do AWS, okay, tell them how you did that, and how you log the code, and how things like that. In a full stack world, that's a big thing nowadays, is a full stack developer.
And something as well really important to mention, like there are sometimes people don't include as much information in the resumes that you said, oh, I work for this company. Add a description to each one of the experiences that you have. That and the description being thorough in a way that is precise, but it's not very lengthy to the point that it's going to be tiring for the person looking at it. When we're looking at that experience, we're looking for something like, oh, I worked at this company and we did this thing and we used the following technologies, and there was this big challenge that we went through in the development of that project that we were able to solve with the following approaches, and these technologies helped us accomplish that in this and this and this and this way. And something like that would tell the person that is reading your resume okay, this person knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Those examples are really important. Um, Now, one aspect, because you originally came from the Dominican Republic and everything like that, and in my world, and in the IT world, we have the onshore, offshore mixture, people differently. So do you have any recommendations on improving team, like the diverse workforce between different countries, or any things you found that help? If you do get on a team and you got people from different countries on your team, which happens a lot, you know, any recommendations, or have anybody for working with that diverse group?
Absolutely. The number one problem when it comes to diversity, especially working remote, it's that there is a lack of communication. And sometimes people don't think of it as being very important, but in a team dynamic, that's the number one thing that you would like to have on your team. And for example, when you get a person on board on your team, you want to have maybe a session, a meeting where it's just, oh, everybody with their cameras on, and let's talk to each other. Let's get to meet each other, and let's introduce this new member that we have on the team. So that way, everybody gets familiar with each other, seeing their faces, even though it's not in person. It's the closest thing that you have to meeting somebody in person, and getting to see their faces, talking to them, learning about what they're passionate about, what do they like to do on their free time, and just learning more about that person that you work with on a daily basis in a personal standpoint gets you closer to knowing how to communicate with that person, what type of person this person is, how to better develop a connection with them. And as long as you find something that you guys have in common, you guys are gonna rock together. And I believe that including that into the culture of a company makes the team really strong. And even if it's onshore, offshore, it doesn't matter. They're going to get along with each other. Everybody has their different set of personalities, and if they're constantly communicating with each other, it's going to make it easier because, for example, there are some companies that you see that the developers are even scared to reach out to each other just because they never communicated. It's like,
Yeah.
how am I gonna reach out to Greg if I never met Greg before? I never talked to Greg before, and maybe he doesn't like me that much. But if you include that first meeting and break that barrier, they're gonna know, okay, Greg is a person that I can rely to because when I first got into the company, we had a conversation. He introduced himself. We got to meet each other. We got to ask each other some questions. So maybe probably Greg is going to be able to help me in this problem that I'm currently facing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'm going to be in a book shortly, and my intro talks more about who I am. And one of the teams I'm coaching, the manager's like, "You should share this with the team so they understand who you are and why you what you do." I'm like, "Okay, it's gonna be a lot of information. I don't know if they can handle it, but we'll do it." So I agree totally. And I coach all my teams that way. I mentor them. Um, some like it, some don't. And you have to figure out what level you can do it. So cool. Now I got to come back to your software business a little bit. So, you know, the first getting a haircut for your first interview, even if it's on Zoom or whatever, how important is that good haircut for your interview process? To look appropriate, I would say, for the interview.
you know, I am the kind of person that it's part of my work ethics to always give it 100%. If
Mm-hmm.
I am not giving it 100%, I don't feel satisfied. I feel like I could be doing better. So I have this morals or this ethics to myself that I must give my 100% to everything I do. So let's say, for example, we're in an interview. I'm going to have a nice haircut for you because I respect you and you're taking your time over here to have an interview with me and for us to have a communication together. So having a great haircut can tell a lot about you and how much you can take care of you as well. And I truly believe that if you're going to do something, You must do it great.
Yeah, yeah, no. Well, so let me take it a step further because I've done this before, and it depends if you're going for a management position. Should you wear a shirt and tie at the interview for a position
Hmm.
on remote? I'm always. I mean, in the old days, you wore a shirt and tie, wore
Yes.
suit, uh, whatever business attire would that would be, and sometimes I always wondered, do you need to do that nowadays?
That's a very interesting question. Definitely wearing a shirt and tie talks very highly of you. Today, nowadays, it's not truly a requirement since uh, the culture of wearing shirt and tie has changed a lot. You go to most companies nowadays and you see people wearing just regular casual.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't think nowadays it's as important as it used to be in the past, but I still think that giving that first impression, it's something great that leaves a very great impression on of you in that person's head, and it's going to create that relation. Okay, boom. Um, Michael is a sharp guy. He came to the interview very well dressed with a nice haircut, and he
yeah.
gave a very great impression.
I could tell you stories about things I've done in my life, but and the stories I've heard at meetings when people said something. But I'm so old nowadays; it goes way back when. But I enjoyed. People would ask me as an engineer when I was fresh out of college. I bought a suit and tie, had a nice suit, everything looked nice. Part of it was because I didn't have the money to buy a suit before, and then I got the job, and I wanted to look nice. But the other thing was, as I learned, and this is more like a program project management type thing, when we were in the offices back in the 90s, if you wore a suit, you got attention. And if you need to go meet to a higher manager's office, the admin or the secretary would do more things for you because you came in respectful for the office. And I opened so many doors because I dressed appropriately for stuff like that. So it was funny. And I always saw a secret about my boss. He always had a tie hanging in his office. So he might not wore the tie all day long, but he always had one no matter what. So if he ever got caught up into the boardroom, he put the tie on. His little secret stash. I figured that out. I was like, "Ooh, I see what you're doing."
And
Um,
that's really special that you mentioned that it opens so many doors. And you're right. Maybe picture this: you're walking into an office and you're just wearing casual clothes,
or jeans and a
and
t-shirt, right?
yeah, shirt and
You're
a
you're
t-shirt.
either you're either at the highest level of your confidence or you're not.
Yes, just the level of confidence that wearing a tie and a shirt will give you. It's a different a different level of confidence, and also as well. Let's say, for example, you're over there to meet the CEO of the company, and if you come with just regular with shorts and a regular shirt, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's busy right now."
Yeah, it's true.
But if you come very presentable, giving a very great first impression of yourself, and you go to the assistant and you're like, "Oh, I'm here to meet the CEO." Maybe they think you're a CEO of another company, and
Yes,
you haven't even
it's all
disclosed
it's
what is
all
your
it's
position, and
all
they're over
facade.
here like, "Oh yes, Mr. Denzel, let's do it." He's available right now, so I'm going to schedule a meeting for you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, so on that we talked about haircut now, and you created your software for barbershops. Um, so a lot of questions like when you're can you give us an example of seeing a problem, how you broke it down to improve the process, how do you, and also how do you go about getting customer feedback to prepare, like you're going to develop a system solution, and we might get a cat here. Bubbles, are you here? Bubbles interfering. There's Bubbles. She's a co-star. She's like, okay. Anyway, so back on this one. Sorry about that.
No
Um,
problem.
but how do you go about getting that information you need to develop that solution for your customer?
Absolutely. So the number one thing that you got to look for if you're looking to implement
Mm-hmm.
maybe a software for a company that they're doing something inefficiently, it's do they have a standard, an SOP, a standard operating
Mm-hmm.
procedure, something that they always do no matter what, even though it might not be efficient nowadays, it's something that they always do. So based on that, let's say, for example, to take the barbershop application as an
Mm-hmm.
example,
Mm-hmm.
they have this standard operating procedure, which is like they finish cutting hair, maybe after an hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes. After they finish cutting that person's hair, they go on their way and they take whatever they left the pen or the pencil, and they go and bring also the little thing that the little sheet of paper that they're going
Yeah.
to write the ticket on, and they write it down. For example, $15,
Right.
and they write their name, and then they write maybe the type of haircut that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, they walk into the counter and put that ticket into a place where everybody puts all of their tickets. So based on that constraint, you have to consider, okay, so if this repeats all the time, what is something that we can do that can save them time and that removes the pencil and the paper from the equation? Okay, maybe we can write a software. Maybe we can create a machine that they have in front of them. Whatever it is that we can provide as a solution, it has to begin with first knowing what is the standard operating procedure. For example, if there is a company that do not have any standard on how they operate, there's no way in the world you can write a software for it, because software is specific. The software is just going to go work only one way, in one way, the only way that you tell it. And for example, the ticketing feature that we build, for example, they know now, because they have to start click the button to start the ticket, right? They
Right.
know how long they took cutting that person's hair, so they can think to themselves, okay, I took 1 hour to do this haircut. This was a very basic haircut. Maybe I can take 30 minutes next time. And now they're timing themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and they just do it right over their phone. So instead of just having to look for it, they can just have it right on their pockets or right in front of them on a table, on a tablet, and just click start, click finish. Once they finish, they just click it again, click the service that they did. No longer have to write down the price. They just click the service and then click complete, and the system automatically counts each one of those tickets and add it, and also calculates the commission for them, which is something that they used to wait till the end of the day to know, to count each one of those tickets in a little box that they put everything
Yeah.
together. They used to just count each one of them by one and group them by the name of the barber. So now they, instead of having to do all of that process and then calculate the commissions after knowing how much did the barber make, the barber can instantly know how much did they make in real time, because it was done by a computer, and the computer never fails.
Yeah.
If you do it correctly, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But and just having the leverage that now they just go into their pockets. Okay, I'm making $50 before they had to wait until the end of the day to know that information.
Let me
And
let me ask you a question. When you did that, and you're selling now, you're selling. Do you talk to about how much time you save? Like, I can just imagine the time it would take to sort out every, like, if you're just piling tickets in a pile, you got to desort them. Who's got what? You got to read it and understand it. Everybody's handwriting is terrible, right? and,
yeah.
and 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 then how much time it would take them to sort it out, and then, like you said, it takes time for you to figure it out. Even the person doing the barber or the styling service, you don't really know until the next day what you did or what you're going to get paid. At least if you do it on a computer, if you wrote, I guess your program provides that information. Like, at the end of the day, here's what you should, approximate amount how much money you made, and gives you an idea, right?
Yeah, with the computer, you can know in real time how much you made because you just click it, boom, boom, and now it calculates it for you. And another thing, you mentioned it as well. You don't know how much you made. So maybe you have an owner that is not very trustworthy.
Yeah.
And when he's counting tickets, he's throwing some tickets into the garbage. What can you do in that
And then
scenario?
it's a he said, she said kind of.
He said, she
Yeah,
said, there's
yeah,
no way to validate whether you made that ticket or not. So maybe you're losing a lot of money. But with a system, for example, you see every ins and out. There is
mm,
like an audit log system that we created as well, that they're able to see what type of activities did the owner did on their account. So if the owner created a ticket in their behalf, they see it and the time that the owner did it and everything. If the owner deleted a ticket, they also see it. And software brings this level of transparency that you wouldn't
yeah,
be able to have with paper because you're not omnipresent. You cannot be everywhere and just see what things are going on. But you can have a software that can tell you the time and date that things happen and the specifics. What changed? What price changed? What tickets was
yeah,
removed or any specific thing that you would like to know?
yeah. I could see the software being used so many different ways. It's and it should your software should be everywhere right now. I can look at my hairstylist, my place I go get. They probably could use it. So that's awesome. I think that's pretty cool. Um, so with that, let's get back to your journey here. Um, you achieved a lot. I want to say. So could you share with what drives you? I mean, you migrated US from Dominican Republic, you learned code, you formed two companies. You know, that's a wild combination of stuff going on and what gives you all this energy?
Thank you. Thank you. Um, I am a God. I believe in God. That's the first thing. I understand people have different religions, and I have mine as well, and I respect everybody's religion and beliefs. But I have this belief that I was destined to do something bigger than myself, and being from the Dominican Republic, seeing my parents struggle, it was like I'm never gonna let this happen again, and I knew that with the skill sets that I was developing, I was able to push my family forward. And since I was 12 years old, my dream was always to build a company and create an empire that impacts people's life. And just the fact that we can impact people's life for the better, saving them time for the clients that use the application,
Mm-hmm.
for my team that work in my company, building a better life, maybe having great salaries that they wouldn't be able to have in other companies. And it just brings me this sense of satisfaction, how we can build something together that it's going to impact positively in to other people's life and see everyone grow. It gives me this very great drive that even though I'm going through the worst moments of my life, I say to myself, okay, if you don't do this, Denzel, it's not just you. Everybody depends on
Yeah.
it. So having that in the back of my mind and also knowing to myself that I have God that I can always rely on, that even if I have a problem, I can always count on him that he's going to give me the support that I need and he's going to push me forward because he, he's the best. It's just I feel like I'm unstoppable. Thank God.
I appreciate I can appreciate that. And with that, do you want to plug your companies or anything? How do they get a hold of you? You know, people might watch the video, might want to say, "Hey, can you help me find a new job?" You know,
Absolutely.
how can I
Absolutely.
share your software, what you're creating with other people?
Absolutely. So we have a website which is inwall.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Denzel Giraldo, and on Instagram as well with the handle at Denzel Giraldo. I think it's over here on the video as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always willing to help and to give advice if there is anything that I can possibly help you with. And I would love to get to meet all of you, and as well to the barbershop owners over here. If there is any barbershop owner, you guys can find the platform that is going to help you save time. And instead of having to wait that 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours of your time in counting tickets, you can just make more money and create more haircuts. It's Perseni.com.
Cool. Cool. Appreciate that. And we'll definitely share how to connect with you on the program and everything like that. And I want to thank you for joining us on for this interview and doing our programming. And maybe we'll do some more stuff in the future. We'll figure whatever you want to do. Just send me a message. Hey, Greg, I got this new product that's coming out. I want to share it with the world or whatever. And you're open for anybody connecting with you on LinkedIn, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very open.
So I definitely recommend that, because if you are looking to place someone in a company and someone's connected to you and you go, give me all my Python developer or whatever, it would that might show up on your connections too. So.
Yes, absolutely. And we're always looking for candidates, especially in the Node.js, JavaScript, TypeScript space, and Python as well. Sometimes we have some projects that also run on Python. And it would be amazing if we can all connect on LinkedIn. And that way I can take a look at your profiles and see if you guys match for a position that we're currently looking for. I can just even reach out to you. Hey, what's up? What are you currently doing?
There you go. You're free. Help get something. We like to see if we want to come in for an interview. So great. And we just tell them, just remind them, they got to get a nice haircut. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to come meet you, they have to have a good haircut. Right?
No, it's not the standard. It speaks well about
it
you.
could be done in a certain way. I'm not saying it has to be nice and clean, but it could be, whatever it is, something.
But definitely give a nice first impression about yourself. It speaks highly of you.
Well, Denzel, thank you very much for being on our show, and appreciate it. And I wish you the best luck in your businesses.
Thank you very much, Greg. Have an amazing day. God bless you. Thank you for having me in the podcast.